Hey everyone, today I want to talk about art careers. I have talked about art as a hobby here in the channel before, and I'll continue to do so as I think it's a very important topic, and I am a hobbyist myself. But I'm also a recruiter in the entertainment industry, and I've been following artists for around 15 years now and teaching for around 7 or so. So I have a lot of experience following careers and seeing some of the mistakes that some people did and not focusing on the right things that can really cue your careers if you undervalue them. So that's what we're gonna dive in here today. There's no way I can be exhaustive about the topic, so I'll probably miss stuff. So if you want to add, please share in the comments so we can have a conversation there as well. But I divided a career and potential career paths into three main areas. One of them is the industry, so working for the entertainment industry mainly. That's what I'm going to be talking about. I've been recruiting in games specifically, so I'll dive deeper into that part. But you can share your thoughts on other areas in the comments below. I'll touch briefly on AI as it's such a big topic, but there are so many open question marks in this area that I don't have answers to, and I think no one has answers to. But there are some things that are facts that are already happening that will potentially continue to do so in the future. So I want to bring them up. The second path is the independent path. So it's selling prints, commissions, having your presence online, selling products. YouTube is a part of that. So content creation and so on. And then finally, teaching. It could be like schools or your own course, or even like Gumroad and selling standalone courses, or it could be a more formal brick and mortar education, teaching at a university, college, and so on. So without further ado, let's discuss games and the industry and comment a little bit on the other areas. What do I think is most important here? First of all, to understand that this is a business. You are working for a company. Most companies in our Western world and capitalist world, they want to make money. So you're helping them make money. Of course, we're going to be making awesome products, games, movies, comics, whatever it is. Collectibles is a big one that I didn't add there. That is part of an industry as well, and advertising as well, helping like sell products and all of that. That's a different conversation a bit, but there is a passion involved on that. But we are also helping someone make money. So teams are built around products trying to get to an end goal. And that means that there are lots of different types of disciplines, types of people working together. We can start like even breaking that down into engineering, product, and the art department, but I'm going to focus on the art department. Inside the art department for a game studio, you're going to have like around 12, if I can count that way. I think Riot in their So You Want to Make Games series that I'll link in the description below talks about 8 disciplines. So they get some of those disciplines together, but it's as broad as like 12, 13 disciplines if you count audio as well inside the art department. So there are a lot of different things that you can say are art careers inside the games industry. So understanding that is the first part of having a sustainable career. What part are you playing in that specific studio? It could be multiple hats. Sometimes you're going to do like the 2D concept art as well as the 3D modeling if you are more of a generalist. Also a little bit of tech art here and there, jumping on the engine and putting all together. Depending on the size of the studio and the focus that they have, maybe you're going to be working more as a prototype artist. So you need to be more of a generalist. And sometimes you're going to be very, very specialist. So it's really important to understand as well the saturation of those disciplines. Concept art and illustration, there are loads and loads of 2D artists are out there. And I want to be super fact driven here. I don't want to disencourage anyone, as this is a very beautiful path. I love 2D art myself. But if you look at ArtStation, the number of people doing 2D work is way bigger than the other disciplines, especially like VFX and animation, specific animation. You won't find that on ArtStation. I want to talk about like social media and presenting your work in other video. But the amount of 2D artists is huge. So understand that the quality bar is going to be way different because of this type of saturation. Also, there are going to be less and less junior roles. No one will teach you in these careers because they can hire mid levels, they can hire directly senior level people that have been doing a lot of courses here and there. Even if they haven't worked in the industry before, their work, at least from a hard skills perspective, from draftsmanship, it's mid to senior level. And I'm going to talk about soft skills in a second. That is really important as well. So be mindful of your choices and know that you can pivot along the way. All your like 2D work and knowledge of colors, relationships, contrasts, shapes, and all of that can be translated into a VFX career later on, or a modeling. If you understand the construction of characters and so on, you can also bring that to a different career if you want to pivot. That brings me to relationships. That is the second big topic. Understanding that there are other people working there and that those relationships are going to be huge for maintaining a lasting career. It could be the relationship with the people you work with, the bosses, or like art directors and leads and people giving you direction, but your peers as well. If you are a character concept artist, you will impact the whole pipeline because those concepts will go to a modeler that will do the full model and textures and all of that. Then we'll go to a rigger and we'll go to an animator. And on top of that, there will be VFX for that character. So all of them are going to be impacted by your work if you are in the beginning of the curve, if you are a concept artist. If you are in the middle of the way, you want to be mindful, of course, maybe you're a rigger, you want to be mindful of what's happening in modeling, and you want to understand the necessities that the animator will have, so we'll have a strong partnership with them. Also, on relationships, one very important thing is to understand that this is a very niche industry. If you burn some of those bridges, it could be with leadership or with your peers, it will definitely affect your career long term. Like, you can trust that. I've seen it happen multiple times. Even people that grew really, really fast in their hard skills, in their draftsmanship, especially young people, and they burned so many bridges that they are almost unhirable after like 5 years into the industry. So be aware of that. Be nice, work with people, be empathize with their problems, and really create a thriving, positive environment. And you will find jobs, even if your hard skills, if your draftsmanship doesn't grow as fast as you want it, as fast as you think it should. The second one is on this topic of draftsmanship, functionality, and pipelines. So understanding that what you're doing will fit to a process. So your model will go into the engine. So everything that you're doing needs to fit that pipeline. Naming conventions so that the engine can understand what you're adding to that. Understanding of the programs that are involved. So if you want to model in Blender instead of Maya, what are the implications to the overall process? Are you willing to make tweaks in your process so you can adapt to that specific work or find the right job for the pipeline that you are used to having? Functionality in terms, and we mentioned this before, the pipeline relationships. So everything you do as concept will impact along the way. And this is making things functional. The best example, I don't have visuals for this, but is an armor piece, a shoulder piece in the armor. And when you raise your arm, normally it has like spikes, and this spike goes through the head of the character. That happens way more than we wanted. Also, the functionality relates to gameplay. Gameplay is king, just as if you are working in animation and movies, story is king. You are an artist providing a service for a bigger thing. So it could be the story, it could be the story in terms of comics as well. It could be selling a product in terms of advertising and the fast pace that comes with it, and all the problems of clients changing things really fast and all that. We're going to talk about changes in a bit. But in games, gameplay is king. So you want to provide very clean, readable artwork that will support and enhance the gameplay. I think Riot does an awesome job in their So You Want to Make Games series. I'll add the link once again in the description, especially the VFX video. You also can refer to VFX Apprentice. They have awesome videos on gameplay and the relationship with VFX. So go check that out. You learn a lot about what's an artist in this context. Soft skills, working with other people and being professional. This I can't emphasize enough. I've seen a lot of senior people in terms of hard skills that have no soft skills. So they create a toxic environment around them. They are always complaining. They are not team players. They are not leading by example. They are not communicating well. They are not handling pressure. They are not writing a good email, writing a good documentation for the process that they're making, and stuff like that can be really detrimental to your work. You might find like a freelance route in your career where you are just delivering stuff. And that's fine. A lot of people do it, and they can be horrible people to work with. If they are delivering, some industries will hire those people. But if you are working inside a team, you need to polish your soft skills, your communication, leadership, teamwork, listening, handling stress, and all those kinds of things, especially communicating when you disagree with something in a very productive way, and all of that. Those, especially stress handling, will come really big in the changes, especially cancels in the game industry. There are lots of them. Some people, when they are young and they haven't worked in the industry, they don't understand that. Your work might not see the light of day. There are lots of examples in our industry. You can see Blizzard worked on the project codenamed Titan that later on became a little bit of that became Overwatch, but they worked on that for 7 years. And a lot of that project was lost, and not lost, but vaulted, and will never see the light of day. So people that worked there for 5, 6, even 7 years, none of the work they did, or almost none of the work, some of them might have come up in Overwatch and then they can show, but most of the work is never going to be able to be shown unless they change and go with that product someday, 15 years from now. So understanding that there are going to be a lot of changes, and I'm not even talking about layoffs, because layoffs is a different thing. It happens in the industry more than it should, in my opinion, but it's also a change that you need to cope with. But I mean normal changes, even in like healthy work environments, there will be cancellations sometimes. And Supercell is a great example of this. There is even a video talking about all the games that were canceled by Supercell that were done, ready to be shipped. But when you put in all the marketing efforts that would be needed, sometimes it doesn't make sense financially for the game to go live, even if it's finished. So it's frustrating for the people that like poured their hearts and souls into that project. They wanna give that to the players, give that experience, and sometimes it's gonna be canceled. So really have that in mind. Changes happen, pipeline changes happen. Sometimes top-down changes come, and you need to cope with that as well. So executives change their mind on something, and everything changes beneath them. So it's really hard, but we need to be able to do that if you want to work in this specific industry, especially in big companies that have a lot of bureaucracy, have a lot of processes. Some of those companies are going back to the office, so the return to the office is a real thing. So that's a change to cope with as well. If you want to have a career path in that route, you need to understand that some of the companies will go and do this. A lot of them still want to do remote, but it's hard. It's hard to hire people in different countries. There is a lot of bureaucracy and taxes involved and risks for each company. So it's not like you are in your country like I am in Brazil and you can work whatever with everyone and so on. There are complications and each company will find a way or they won't. Sometimes the risk is bigger than the reward, so they won't take the risk. So have that in mind. And the final one is like it can seem a little more stable if you're going in the industry route. But as I mentioned on the changes and the layoffs, we've seen this. If you've been following the industry, especially the games and VFX industry, and in VFX, I mean movies and post production for movies, recently you will know that stability is not a thing. A lot of changes are happening. I haven't mentioned AI, but it's growing. It's affecting the movies industry, especially pre-production for movies. It's really affecting advertising. A lot of companies and movie making for specific campaigns and even illustrations are using a lot of AI pieces. There is a bigger discussion of what's ethical and what's even legal that I don't have enough information to go into, but it's already happening. I've seen that happen with a lot of people. A lot of people that I know need to use AI on a daily basis so that they can continue working. They don't want to do that, but they need to do that because it's the change that the industry is having right now and exploring different pipelines. It's not a matter of me agreeing with that or not. It's what's happening and what I've seen. How that will change in the future is something that you and me need really to keep an eye out. The second one that I'm going to talk about is independent work. So I really want to dive deeper into that. I've been doing that a little bit myself and following some awesome people that do that, especially like selling prints and commission and products online. And that has also its implications from AI. And we're going to discuss a little bit of that. If you are independent, you do everything. So if you don't have the money to pay, especially like an accountant and really early on, and I encourage you to look for a cheaper accountant and grow from there so that you don't make like huge mistakes, but you're doing a lot of things. You are the product making, you are logistics, you are marketing, you are the CEO of the company, you are everything in a one person shop, especially in the beginning. So if you're doing your prints and commission, you're creating that relationship with them, the fan base. And I really think that is the very big important part here. If we talk about AI, commissions were already hit hard by this, especially if you think of people that just wanted artwork. They're not commissioning an artist specific for that artist. So there isn't that bit of a relationship. All that we talked about, the relationship with your peers and your leadership inside the industry, now it's with the final consumer. It's almost like if you are doing your own game, it's your relationship with the players. But now you're selling prints, you're selling art. If they just want to have like art, they can go with AI and they can have that cheaper or almost free at this point, depending on what they're looking for. So growing that relationship with who you are and what you as a person stands for and the kind of things you're interested in and your curiosity, your view of the world, and all of that, it goes a long way. And I think it will go a long way in maintaining a healthy career in this very, very unstable and changing environment. And that could be if you are selling prints online, or you're selling your products and comics and so on, or even if you're creating content in your life, your experiences, the artwork you make, and the process becomes a product on its own. It has a little bit to do with teaching that I'll get there in a bit. But if you are doing this online, or you're doing this in person, going to events, going to Comic Cons and all those kind of conventions, you need to understand that especially physical products will have a lot of logistics and bureaucracy that you need to attend for. I've seen some people post recently that they wanted to go to Lightbox Expo or even Comic Con and sell stuff in the artist alley, or they bought a booth and so on. But they couldn't because they were from outside the US and they didn't understand that they couldn't sell with a tourist visa in the US. This is a complication. I'm not pointing fingers. It's an information that probably is not well shared with the community, but it was really heartbreaking to see it happen. It can affect whole careers. People can give up and not understand, or be in debt because of that, because there are lots of costs involved. You are going to be like making your physical product. There is production costs. There are packaging costs, delivery costs, shipping costs, a lot of things that need to be understood. Even like the cost of your booth, flights, hotels, and so on. Sometimes we can see here online people say, oh, I made $200,000 last year. But if you go really deep into what happened there, a lot of that 200K was costs, and they were making like 40K or 30K a year because they were paying a lot of different things and not having a good margin on top of that. So having that more of a business mind will go a long way, and even saving money consciously and having a long-term plan is super important if you are, and if you want to be an independent artist for the long term. Also, something to worry about and be mindful of is that when you're independent, you're probably always working. So having those times, especially if you are at home, we've all seen this during the pandemic, you are always, always working. There is no separation between work environment and home environment. So you need to make that happen. It was really harmful for me when I was teaching online and creating a lot of content, because I was thinking about working all the time. Even when traveling with friends and family, I was thinking about, like, I need to draw, I need to create content, I need to film this, I need to photograph that, I need to post and all of that. And it can lead to burnout. If you search here on YouTube for content creation burnout, you see lots and lots of videos. It's sad as well. And it's hard because the wages are getting lower and lower as you have a lot of people doing this. It's a race to the bottom. I think it's also happening in the industry as well, especially now that the world is even more global and people are working from home. All the companies want to cut costs working with cheaper labor that are qualified, but sometimes they want to pay less. They're not going to pay the US wages that you normally have, because this industry is very US based. If you look at animations and games and so on, and they are going to have lower and lower wages. For the independent artists, it depends a lot on the size of your fan base and a lot of that. It can go, the sky's the limit, but also it can be really, really tough. If you look at Patreon and stuff like that, the 20%, it's almost like Pareto law. 20% of the people that have accounts make 80% of the money that is in there. I don't have specific statistics on this, but you should definitely look them up. If you look at YouTube, for example, The creators that make it are around like 3%, if I'm not mistaken. It's very, very small community. And even the ones that make real money that can sustain careers and all of that is going to be super, super small. Also for Instagram, TikTok, and whatever social media you're focusing on your content creation, it's not easy. It's not simple. Sometimes people will sell that it's simple because they want to make videos that are going to be like big and impactful, but sometimes they are overselling and selling a little bit of a dream. So be mindful of that. And last but not least, and I love this part, I'm an instructor and teacher myself, but there are things to consider when you want to go in a teaching career in an education route. First of all, like structure. You need to structure a course and you need to be mindful of that, ever changing, being up to date with everything that is happening. And now this AI thing is painful to see students that have been working for a long time to get to the points that they are and see that the industry is changing. A lot of things are happening. So there is that side, both of structuring good courses and understanding what you're talking about, as well as dealing with students. Students can like have different shapes or forms. They will come in different generations as well. So understanding who you're dealing with, and especially if you are mentoring one-on-one, understanding that they are going to have like problems and sometimes even mental health problems that you are not supposed to be helping them on that side. And where are the boundaries there from teaching and just like creating educational content? You need to understand where you want to be and how you want to be there. You can teach online also through standalone courses, Gumroads, Patreons, and all of that. I have talked about this in a lot of videos, foundation group, all the schoolisms and everything that you can just watch the content. But there is this relationship between being like a teacher for a class with students that are live, attending live, that will have a lot of different variables that you need to deal with. Also, you are an independent artist to some extent. If you are not going the university route, you're teaching on some schools as well as especially online and selling products that are going to be your standalone courses. You are creating content. You need to have a fan base because a lot of those schools need to sell courses. So they need someone to be teaching there that have a household name. Sometimes in university, you see some teachers that are really great because they had the time to focus on their craft of teaching and their knowledge of the subject and not being there out there creating content and diverging from the subject to become TikTokers or stuff like that because they need to sell the course. They need to be more famous so they have a job inside schools that are not like brick and mortar and so on. So there, all the problems that we've discussed with the independent route sometimes will have their toe in the teachers as well. So with all of that said, I just want to end on a high note. This is just talking about bureaucracy and things that are there. It's not to say that you shouldn't pursue this path. Like I've worked with some of the best people I've met in my life in the industry that are super happy with what they're doing. They love creating artwork. They love creating content. They love creating awesome games. They love the way that people react to what they're doing. They want to be out there, have those conversations, and be part of those environments, see the company grow, be part of that brand, and everything. There are lots of positives here. I just want to talk specifically to the young generation that is coming, and I'm 36, so I believe I can say young generation or younger generation that, as myself, didn't have any understanding of the specificities that come into each route, each career that you need to prepare for. If you're going independent, understanding that that fan base will be there, that relationship with your direct clients that are going to be your fans and are going to be following your work, your followers, or the relationship that you're going to be building directly with the owners of the schools or with the educational system as a whole, as well as the leadership and peers that are going to be working with you in different companies throughout your career. So just have that in mind, but this is a beautiful route if you want to choose it as your career. I hope this was helpful. I hope it created some insights and also created a lot of questions. So bring those questions to the comments below. Bring the insights as well. Other people I might have missed, especially on the career paths that could be taken that I haven't exhaustive listed here. Let's add to the discussion. I'll try to respond to the most comments I can. But as I have myself a job in the industry, I'm also doing this part-time, so sometimes it can be harder to attend, or it will take some time to get to that question, and other people in the community will jump in, and I've seen that happen, and thank you for everyone that did that. Thank you as well to getting here to the end of the video. I hope you have a great day, and we'll definitely catch up in another video. Bye. Take care.